Last Saturday of the month of August in the year 2025. Good afternoon. Welcome to Weekend Central. This bulletin is coming to you live from the news app here at Adesawe Kanda. We're live on Facebook as TV3 Ghana and on DSTV as channel 279. My name is George Quinn. Top of the stories is out. Ghana Police Service to enforce strict zero tolerance policy on weapons at Akwatia by-election avenues. And we assess the plight of over 12,000 displaced victims in the Gbenyiri conflict. Also coming up this afternoon, Ministry of Education says the senior high school placement will not be based on a rigid aggregate score system. Well, we have details of these stories and many more coming up in the next 1 hour. If you spend your time with me, remember, you can also get interactive with us. We're live on Facebook as TV3 Ghana. Let's begin with issues relating to education, as the Ministry of Education has refuted claims circulating on social media that the senior high school placement system is based on a fixed aggregate score system. The claims, which were widely shared through a flyer, suggested that specific aggregate ranges determine student placement into various categories of second cycle institutions. A statement signed by the Deputy Education Minister, Dr. Clementa Park, indicated the information is misleading and inaccurate, stressing that the placement process is far more complex and factors in a variety of elements. According to the ministry, the computerized school selection and placement system takes into account the aggregate and raw scores of students, the availability of vacancies in schools, and the popularity of specific programs. The ministry further explained that limited vacancies and high competition for sport at certain schools or programs can significantly influence the placement outcome. Well, let's stay longer on this very topic and let's engage Dr. Peter Pate Anti, and he is the Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies. And good afternoon, Pate. How can the Ministry of Education ensure transparency and fairness in the placement process, particularly in cases where limited vacancies and high competition affect placement outcomes?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good afternoon to your listeners and viewers. I think that in order to ensure transparency, they need to continue to publish the modalities for the placement system. I think they've done twice, and they've given parents opportunity to check the entries that they did during the selection process, and they are assuring parents that their awards will be placed according to merit. I think we should hold them by this, and hopefully we'll be able to get the best out of it. We have also had the Director General meeting the press and addressing the press with issues relating to displacement. So I think they are doing their best to ensure that a lot of light is brought to bear on the placement for this year. And you can also attest to the fact that they have tried as much as possible to arrest fake news. And I saw the notice on social media, and it is good that the ministry have come to clarify, because the long-standing position of the placement system is that they use raw scores. So I was surprised that a note like that was going around on the social media. So these are things that they can do to ensure that there's fair and transparency, fairness and transparency in the operation of the placement process.
What do you think are some of the potential drawbacks to ensure that this is not really viable?
Well, you see, some of us still have a difficulty with the placement system in terms of when students are allowed or asked to select schools. Now, this period that they have opened the window for parents to confirm whether their selection is really what they did, I was thinking that it would be a period where parents would be allowed to make changes to their initial selection, because the selection was done before the students had to the exams. Now the results are in, and the parents know the real performance of the awards. Why don't you give parents the opportunity to change so that kind of difficulty that comes with my work was not placed, we didn't get any school and other things will be minimized, because people anticipate that they'll get a certain grade. Now they sit for the exams and they get their actual grade. Mostly there might be disparity between their anticipated grade and their actual grade.
Okay.
So you will need to ensure that there is a process where they can now align their selection to their actual grade. And that would minimize this challenge that happens with non-placement and other things. I think that going forward, the ministry should really look into this and look at this particular issue of selecting schools before writing the exams. I don't see the rationale in that, actually.
Okay, Doc, okay, so every student would desire to be in a grade A school. For instance, I was in Pope John. And don't you think this very issue presents us the opportunity to retool all these schools, regardless of the fact that if you are placed in any school, you'll be comfortable with your placement?
Sorry, please, I didn't get the last part.
So it's every desire of a student to be in a grade A school. I was in Pope John, for instance. And don't you think this very issue presents us the opportunity to retool all these schools? So regardless of any school that you are placed in, you as a student will be okay with that?
Well, I think you're asking whether students should be okay with any school that they are placed, right?
Yeah, so if there's some sort of retool in all the existing schools, the student will be comfortable with whichever school he or she has been placed.
Actually, one of the things that we said during the campaign period is that ministers of education should be judged based on the number of Category A schools they create when they come into power, the number of Category C schools they move to Category B, and the number of Category B schools they move to Category A. It's very, very important because most of the criteria boils down to infrastructure, it boils down to performance, it boils down to availability of teaching resources. So if we really want students to be okay with schools that they are posted to, we need to be intentional about retooling our schools, especially from the Category C, getting to B, and then increasing the number of Category A schools. I think that should be a long-term goal of any minister. So if we have, let's say, about 80 Category A schools, I want to see by 4 years, the Minister of Education should be able to increase these Category A schools to, let's say, 100 or 120, increase the number of Category B schools, reduce the number of Category C schools, and we will see that people will continuously be okay with schools that they are posted to. That should be an intentional policy of the minister in terms of resource distribution across the secondary schools in the country.
Thank you so much, Doc. Dr. Peter Pate is the Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies, and we're delving into the issue about BEC placement, where the Ministry of Education has debunked false placement claims. Let's still stay on education, as the government has launched the School Farm Initiative, a nationwide program targeting more than 5,000 basic junior high and senior high schools by the year 2030. The project aims to train over 250,000 students each year in modern agriculture and agribusiness, with the goal of reducing school feeding costs by 20% while strengthening national food security.
On behalf of the President, the Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, hailed the School Farm Initiative as a bold step to transform classrooms into fields of opportunity. He stressed that agriculture must no longer be associated with punishment or seen as a last resort, but embraced as a modern, dignified and competitive enterprise.
The President's vision for agriculture is clear. He has placed it at the center of the national research agenda, calling for a transformation that makes agriculture the backbone of food security. The School Farm Initiative is one of the practical ways to achieve this vision. He believes by embedding agriculture into our schools, we are planting the seed for self-reliance, creativity, and entrepreneurship in our young people.
Julius Debra said the program's success will depend on shared responsibility. He urged teachers, parents, and PTAs to mentor students and help them view farming as innovation and pride rather than hardship.
This initiative cannot succeed without the full support of our teachers and parents. I therefore call on NAGRAT, NAT, CCTGH, and all teacher unions to embrace this initiative, not as an additional burden, but as an opportunity to mentor students in practical skills and values that complement classroom learning.
The Chief of Staff concluded that if the initiative delivers on its promise, it will not only strengthen Ghana's food security, but also inspire a generation of young people to see agriculture as a true pathway to dignity, prosperity, and national pride.
And now let's move to one of our headline stories. And heavy police presence dominates the Akwatia township 3 days to the by-election, seeking to replace deceased Ernest Kumi in what to be a tight race. Leadership of the two major parties are moving from town to town, vigorously campaigning. And now let's cross over to my colleague, Gbenyiri, who is currently in the constituency. Eric, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Update us on the campaign activities in the constituency 3 days before the election.
Currently at Akim Wenchi, which is a part of the Akwatia constituency, and this is a very important geographical area with respect to the Akwatia constituency and what is expected to happen, because the deceased member of parliament is from this particular part of the constituency, and so is the NDC's Bernard Bediako, who is also from this constituency. And we've seen a lot of the top guns moving in and out of this particular area, seeking to convince voters in the lead up to the by-election on Tuesday. We know that tomorrow is the final day of campaigning, and there's expectation that there will be some rallies held in and out of the constituency. But right now, a lot of the political activity, we've seen vehicles moving in and out with speakers aboard them, blasting loudly campaign messaging to the people here. What we're going to do, George, is to try and interact with a number of these residents, persons who are from this town who will be voting, and ask them a pretty simple question. Are you going to vote? And what are you going to be basing your decision to vote on? Reason for which you will partake in that election on Tuesday, because we've seen as well heavy police presence all throughout and in the lead up to the election. In fact, for every junction, for every area you get to, you find a police checkpoint, and persons, the police officials readily inspecting vehicles, motorcycles, and if you're new in town, they're asking you questions as to what it is that you're doing here, and whether or not you are an indigene, and whether or not you're going to be voting as well. And so that's what's it's been like since we've been here all throughout the morning up until now. But like I mentioned, we're going to be interacting with a number of the indigenes as well to get an understanding from them as to what they make of the entire service and what is expected to happen. Opening Michiao na yafra saying Daniel Uwa Akwatia Kronimu Ufrenchia na nyame adoma Tuesday Mubatuaba say nyame enchade, unfortunately no mo MP na otesuno we free mo esesemo santo aba eyi MP fufuro obeto abasada no. Okay, we the general question me asibu me de mento. Ade na wonto. Okay, since my 92 to aba town in here make me few town in your schools, your hospitals in say both MPP NDC we live from since 92 e be hu here your schools, your hospitals in say and you who me there to me there who there is one just to aba, because in this modern era now your schools are in Koladeko in say okay, schools like primary schools in no omuti sada mu abonten nti generally secondary schools, your primary schools in condemn your hospitals in your hospital, but and if you cheap compound just a normal community hospital in your juma nti to me there me who are damage so to aba, but since these two parties na eba kuma say no you who develop in bia okrum ha sai okrum sanet here nti to me there be to, but me to me there me fear reasons na me share development na me who there's no reason say make me to aba our this current situation I mean woman no, because me living na be anyim po living na me share me share the youth na we na nkwa na go schools no say no obi at the back school odan as early as 5 o'clock so Gbenyiri station empeka ede a de record down if you any bus stop kwapo ha kronli ni oba muntwa see any bus stop there's nothing in Nkrumah see until say me development bi a me fu say no me to me there me nto aba
To say me who development and me people to go there, but me who development be there. Media metwaba, but currently there to me media about what there mean to me to.
Into Daniel made us say, oh, they also in Twaba. She knew I bet to me as a
on to say who development now. You good. I be fit for this community as a metwaba. On to say that part there. Sadio Muye, me who say just a political gimmicks and a Muye.
I'm about more should be I say, I say.
But who's a great idea, but I mean to me say somebody acquiring some year and the meeting. But since 92, I'm the ministry no. You who be a Kuma say. Your schools, your health assay. And it's cinema tunu and the basic foundation of every community. But as at now, you're catching because of cinema tunu. Yeah. Because we school that's the back school down. You could say any school power.
Medasi only and Kasa. I feel Yembra so Udi Uyetimu was it.
But I am free. I am my name Papa free.
Now Tuesday, Mobatuaba also can over me at Wabanibi.
But I am a Twaba,
over Twaba Tuesday.
Me, as for me, Nidia, I'm not that sure, say, about meet me at all.
I don't know own Twabas.
You're too young, too. You're still not catchy. Akwatia went to Swansea, you call Akwatia, baby, I prefer be a who quota acquiring hospitals near the other. By a Kroka carrying a hospital about Cope. Kroka carrying is near high school about Cope, and even the senior high school in Crampono, and it and yet Adibiankasa and calling him that much, you see. And hey, school name they lost everything. Omuni be papa bia wo school nim abet maka say you ade we wo school nim na say wade we wo school nim. One kasa you look at the environment. Wow, shout mu say when chino. If you look at the environment, you see say we have lost in everything. We lack we don't gain anything in this time. So me, if I vote or I don't vote, it won't bring any good results for me. Unless I see that they are doing something good or something better in this town before I can vote.
I think we've seen that some graders have come around. They're trying to do some work and all of that. You don't think that's convincing enough for you in any way or form?
No. They can do it, but they won't end it. You see how the thing is? They will begin to do something, but they won't end it. So when it rains, it will wash all the sands away. You see how the thing is? So I don't think what they are doing is necessary or something like that. Right. Unless we see something better, something that can develop the town or the country before we, the citizens, will vote. Yes.
Thank you very much. And so that's another indigen. But we've been interacting as well with the different political parties. The member of parliament for Akim Oda as well, we caught up with him where the NPP has adopted a door-to-door campaign strategy, and here's what he told me, where he says they are focusing on doing all they can to get voters to come out in their numbers to vote for them and ensure that they retain the seat.
We have tried as much as possible to reach out to our people because of all the recent elections, Ablekuma, and the 2020 elections. We realized that is the low turnout that caused our abysmal performance. And so we're trying to let our grassroots know the essence of voting and the fact that they should not respond to any intimidation, especially with the number of police presence. Yes, they are here to protect them, but I had wished that the police would get involved in educating them that they should not feel intimidated. They should know that they are here for them. They have come to protect them. They have come to make sure we have a safe and sound elections. I mean, some of them do not understand why we have a lot of police presence here because they think that this is going to be a very simple election. But the fact that you have the ruling NDC officials all present here, I mean, is making people a bit scared, you know, and the number of police presence. So I feel that the police must get involved in educating the masses. Come out to vote. Come out to vote. We are here to protect you.
Alexander Akwatia is the member of parliament for Akim Oda. And so let's wrap up with my colleague Marina Gbata. Marina, I know the police service is deploying some 5,000 personnel for this very exercise. What more can you tell us about security situation in the constituency? Right,
George, the sound is a bit deafening here because of the police who are here. But I've gotten a bit more in terms of the residents who are here and who will engage us as well as to whether or not they will vote. Mommy, Tuesday, Nyame adoma obeto aba.
Meto aba pa, meto.
Obeto na bra yemfi okaka. And just the police making their way in and out of this place briefly for us, George, as we continue our interaction with a lot more of the residents. But let's try one more time. Mommy, Tuesday, so to about the answer now, shall we to about?
Hey, me more funny and this. It's about 2 months. More fun till I met to Aban.
NS or party or
MPP until I met to Aban.
Oh, share
MPP. Unless Monday Bank or Bama, now when I'm one, the person will be better to assume my MPP or better to assume my. Tell me, to Aban, jamming out 24/7. Meto pa, meto. Kamutu to be a
Okay. So she says she's voting because of the deceased NS Yaokumi. She believes that the party had good intentions for them, being the former member of parliament, and so it is their prayer and hope that they will retain the seat and for Mr. Asumedu to come and continue the good work. Let's speak to another person. Boss, your name and whether or not you're going to vote on Tuesday.
Emmanuel Kwanza. Yintia me to abanse. Yeto abepri mpuntu emayekuro. MPP for the so many 8 years. Atin went here MPP strong. Me before na me MPP. Ye die kira ye won say ye nya mpuntu obi enfi wanchi. In sa election we there ye to na mpuntu aba. Sisi ano ye kotoma MPP ni na okọ beka se na ban ama. Oti me awe man. Tiasi ye to aba na ma NDC na na ban wo so san odisi no. No timi play mpuntu akraba na wanchi so ye so ye kọ yanim. It's a one check.
It's a drink chair in Tia the better about my NDC.
Enuti, Sergeant Channel, Yan Adreno. More than friend people have already said, as you put to fluency. You do a machi, and regional chairman, national woman organizer, in your DC president for Achimbe still when she yan read. Over Achimbe, Achim Krona, which will be a Chino. By when she did the Biania Kachi. So about your Kronus here, be being she Kurma Basa, a Munko Corneade. If you are not a minor disaster, to Abanama, Bernard Bediaco. Now, okay, can't abide home any this no timidity and Punto Ble at Chimwenchi.
Right, and so a diverse opinion as well, and you can tell some say they're not going to vote, others say that they will. One of the indigents has said that look, the NPP's NS Yaokumi, who unfortunately passed, had good intentions. She's hoping that Mr. Sumedu will come and then continue the good work for them. But the last person was speaking to as well, saying that amongst many things, they are hoping that Bernard Bediako, being with the governing NDC, will bring them development. We'll continue to solicit and get a bit of the opinions for you with respect to all that is expected to happen here. Well, here we are your election command center. Perhaps we'll pick one final thought just before. Which campaign team? Asumedu's campaign team. What can you tell us has been the work done so far in terms of getting people to come out to vote for you?
Yes, we've given them the assurance that everybody should come and vote. Their protection is assured. The police here are not here to intimidate us. They are to make sure we are safe and to ensure our safety. So we've encouraged everybody to come out to vote on Tuesday and everybody will be safe.
Right, I've just sampled quick views here. Two individuals said they weren't going to vote. One said he was voting for your candidate, another said he was voting for another candidate. But that's two individuals who said they're not going to vote because development has not come here. How are you seeking to convince people to come out and vote because they say they look around themselves and not much has happened here?
We are still working on them. I mean, we have up to Tuesday to convince people to vote, so we will work on them.
All right, thank you very much. And your name? Your name
is Kwame Oredu.
So that's Kwame Oredu, who is a spokesperson for the Asumedu campaign team. And like I said, we'll continue to be here and provide details as to what we can look forward to and expect in the lead up to that by-election on Tuesday. Back to you in the studio, George.
Yeah, thank you so much, Morena Gbeta, and he's my colleague in the Akwatia constituency 3 days before the by-elections. And according to the police service, they are deploying some 5,000 personnel for this very exercise. Trust us, your election command center will bring you detailed analysis and information regarding this very exercise. So keep watching TV3. And now the Director General of Operations of the Ghana Police Service, COP Dr. Vance Baba Gareba, has warned that unaccredited individuals would not be allowed access to the polling stations or the collation center during the upcoming elections. Briefing the media, he emphasized that the police will enforce a strict zero-tolerance policy on weapons at all election-related venues, including those carried by security aides of ministers and other officials. Take a listen.
I want to add that the Inspector General of Police has announced zero tolerance for weapons. What it means is that even VVIP and bodyguards to ministers, parliamentarians will not be allowed to carry their sidearms or weapons into the polling stations. They may have to hand over their weapons at the police stations, and then they can accompany them into the inner perimeter of the police stations. On the other hand, they may not be allowed to accompany them. They may stand 100 meters away from the polling station and wait for their principals. Once they exercise whatever they are supposed to do, they come and they can escort their principals and provide whatever security they intend to provide for them. The Inspector General of Police has announced the deployment of what we call the Black Maria. The Black Maria is a specialized purpose vehicle that we are going to use to accommodate miscreants who intend to create any mayhem or cause confusion during the election.
I'm sure you have some expectations of this very by-election. Let's know what you make of it. We are active on Facebook as TV3 Ghana. Engage us. Hopefully, you'll read your comments and share them to the rest of the world. And our Vice President of Imani Africa, Kofi Bentil, says he's convinced the MPP will lose the Akwatia by-election based on many factors. He urged the MPP to rather focus on 8th flag bearership race. He spoke on the key point earlier today.
For me, looking, I'm like, what difference does this make in Parliament? All right? For MPP, what difference does it make to you in terms of your politics and calculations and going forward? Trust me, on a scale of importance in MPP, this is like 1%. Why? One extra seat in Parliament won't make much of a difference.
True.
What they have to focus on is what is going on now, the election towards their flag bearership.
The flag bearership.
All right? So put everything together, and I understand the politicals and all that they will say, but at the end of the day, okay, let this be.
Well, that takes us to our very first commercial break. We're back with more news. Stay with us. More news this afternoon. A caravan of weary faces, each with a story of escape, the loss of homes, the flight from danger, and the stark reality of displacement as a result of the Gbenyiri conflict, has forced thousands of families to flee from their homes. In the following report, my colleague Christopher Mwako assesses the plight of the over 12,000 displaced victims in a land dispute at Gbenyiri and its environs.
Just at the Sola police station, a camp has been created for thousands of displaced victims, mostly women and children fleeing the conflict at Gbenyiri and its environs. This camp has become a new temporary home and a safe haven for them. The situation is worse at night, as these people struggle to cope with the harsh weather conditions and the bites of mosquitoes. Women, children, the aged, and even persons with disability see this camp as their only lifeline. Some of them have been here for close to a week. Ifia Gladys is a mother of 6 children from Chinchire, a farming community in the Bole district. For her, life has been tough since the conflict broke out. On Sunday, August 24, a communal conflict between 2 feuding factions over a parcel of land resulted in an initial killing of 5, with several others injured. Over 12,000 victims of the conflict have been displaced from their homes, with the death toll now hitting 18, according to the director of the National Disaster Management Organization in the Savannah region.
It's not good, but we have a lot of unconfirmed death situation, but officially I can confirm that we've had 8 yesterday, 5 from the Chanchire area and some 3 around the Mankuma area.
So in total, how many deaths are we talking about?
In total for now, officially, we are talking about 17, 18.
The Inspector General of Police, among other top security operatives, and the Savannah Regional Security Council visited the affected communities on Tuesday, August 26, and reassured them of their safety while calling for a ceasefire.
We don't hear any gunshots and all those things because the security personnel have actually taken the ground and then making sure that life will return to normalcy. Yes, so I can say that we are firmly on the ground.
A dusk to dawn curfew was imposed on the Bole and Sola communities. A humanitarian crisis is about to emerge as food, water, sanitation and hygiene have become increasingly scarce.
There is a looming health crisis here. In actual fact, the people who have gathered here, there is no place of convenience. All over is littered with human excreta, and there's the need for us to get some sort of mobile toilet, what we call mobile toilet. so that the people here can easily ease themselves.
As the conflict escalates into other parts of the Sola and Bole districts, more people keep fleeing their homes. A looming health crisis seems imminent as health workers abandon posts.
As I'm talking to you, many health workers have fled the region. So we are constrained, especially in the Sola, Tuna, Kalba, and Bole districts.
Children who have fled with their mothers face the risk of losing access to education, which could lead to a generation at risk of poverty and instability.
Very disheartening to see this. I am appealing to all the factions that for the sake of the women and children who we hold dear, they should sit and jojo.
Overwhelmed is an understatement. And I am told that there are about 3 or so different other places of similar number. The figure that they've given me is about 10,000. That is quite scary. And that is possibly the rough preliminary figure to which they have given. It might have been more, or it is likely to be more than that. In fact, the interaction which is actually ongoing and the level of discussion is refreshing.
For the hundreds of the displaced residents, absolute peace in their communities is the surest way for them to get back to where they came from. Christopher Mwako, TV3 News, Vonkoro, La Côte d'Ivoire.
And now let's cross over to my colleague Christopher Mwako via Zoom to give us the very latest update on this very development. Christopher, thanks for joining us. You've been to Côte d'Ivoire and reported about the increasing number of people crossing the border. How are these people faring now?
Yes, so George, I can say that the situation is still unbearable for these persons who have fled the conflict around the Gbenyiri area in the Solatuna Kalba district and some parts of the Bole district. Now, the crisis has moved from the issues of just food and water to issues of sanitation, to issues of their source of livelihoods that they have left back home and seeking refuge in the Sola, at the Sola police station and in neighboring La Côte d'Ivoire. This is bringing some form of hardship for them because they are unable to go about their normal duties. Finding themselves at a place that is not their comfort zone is something that adds much more liability to what they do as a people. But the good news is that the security agencies have intensified their patrols in most of the affected communities and communities that are yet to be affected. But George, if you move to some communities, I must say, even though there's not been attacked, the communities have become ghost towns because everybody has fled the community.
And Christopher, we understand there's a meeting between Gojoland Youth Association, and can you tell us about the outcome of that very meeting? I know it's going to bring finality to the matter.
Yes, so there has been some engagement since the conflict broke. Today, the Gojoland Youth Association is meeting key stakeholders in the Sola Tuna Kalba area and the Bole areas. And so we are hoping that after this meeting, a certain level of consensus will be reached in bringing finality to this particular conflict. Now, yesterday, the king of the Gonja kingdom, Gbenyiri Bikunuto Jehu Swale I, met with all his paramount chiefs and other important traditional rulers within the Gonja kingdom. The meeting, as it were, was to find a lasting solution to this conflict. But one thing they keep stressing is that it's about time for the settlers on Gonja land to understand that the land belongs to the traditional authorities and that they must obey the norms and traditions on the lands that they have settled on. And so the discussion will revolve around this, but the peace talk will also continue as the days go by.
Christopher, I'm really concerned about your security. Please take good care of yourself whilst you're doing that reporting for us. Christopher Mwako is our regional correspondent, bringing us up to speed on updates on the Gbenyiri conflict, and some 12,000 persons have been displaced and 18 dead. We'll keep tap on this very development, surely update you in our subsequent bulletins. If you just tuned in, you're watching Weekend Central here on TV3 with me, George Queen. In more news this afternoon, the Falcon is down, unable to fly, and has been for quite some time. In that period, VVIP travel has continued even as debate picks up heat over whether or not a new presidential jet is necessary. Mawene Egbeta assesses the debate, speaking to experts on if the time is right for a new bird in the sky.
A safe, dignified means of travel. That's the looming conversation over the heads of Ghanaians as the echo chambers continue to ring loud. The idea of a befitting means of travel for the president of a republic seldom is embroiled in politics. In Ghana, that's different, and there's a lot of reason behind that.
Let me serve notice that we on the NDC side in Parliament, we have discussed extensively amongst ourselves. We are not going to support this purchase, the purchase of a new aircraft.
But the politics is not one from recent memory, at least in the Fourth Republic. Ghana's history with VVIP travel dates back to the days of early independence. Our first purchase, the DH-125 in 1962 by Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. In 1976, General I.K. Echampong purchased the Fokker 28. It would take the country 22 years again before another jet will be purchased. Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlins procured the Gulfstream GII, generating public criticism. His successor, J. Kufuor, in protest, would refuse to use the Gulfstream, selling it in 2006 and ordering the current jet, the Falcon 900EX Easy. The opposition NDC at the time heavily criticized the move. However, they would be on hand to inaugurate the plane when it arrived in 2010, and it has since served its purpose until the last term of President Akufo-Addo, where conversation surrounding safety has come up. Currently undergoing maintenance in France, the last update Ghanaians got was by Defense Minister Dr. Edward Omaneboama of blessed memory.
The fuel tank is also corroded. The left-hand feeder tank corroded.
But is that a basis to rule out the Falcon completely? Engineer Benjamin Owusu, who's worked all his life as an aviation safety expert, believes it would take a lot more than that to say the Falcon is not fit for purpose.
In aviation, such corrosion is called microbiological corrosion, because of this water contamination. So obviously, when you fly for some time, you are going to encounter certain things. And microbiological corrosion is something that is always detected when base maintenance is carried out. And so once that is identified, definitely it will be treated. And once it's treated, they assemble the panels, they put in fuel. I mean, of course, they use the various sealants at the various points that the maintenance manual would direct them to do.
But if repairs is not the inhibition, is age a factor to consider?
When we defined an aging aircraft, a true age of an aircraft is to do with its flight activity, the maintenance history, and then the damage history. Looking at the year of manufacture, we've computed to be 29 years. Depending on the state, every state and the limit that they give to aircraft that are operated in their country. Even when you come to the civil aspect, there are aircraft which is even far beyond that.
While the repair works continue, President Mahama resorted to commercial flights on his recent trips to Japan and Singapore. A development security analyst Professor Kwesi Enin says is not ideal.
Traveling first class on somebody's jet is not secure enough. We know with modern technology and AI, the president can barely cough before that cough can be interpreted in different ways. So purely for the security aspect, having a jet that is secure, where Ghanaian intelligence and security officials have swept the jet and the president can work. Let's not forget, it is still an office in the air.
He believes a new presidential jet is more than just a means of transport for the first gentleman of the land.
The jet is not fit for purpose. What a presidential jet does is that it is an expression of the identity, the dignity of a people. Okay, that you fly that flag into a foreign space, sending a clear signal that here I come and I can rub shoulders with you.
Imani's Franklin Kujo, though, believes at the heart of the entire debate is a maintenance problem on the part of Ghanaians.
The question really is, even if you got a new one, are we going to maintain it well? I mean, will the same what befell the existing one in terms of the bad maintenance culture essentially basically attend to this one as well? And I think those are the questions you need to ask. It's not a question about getting a new shiny bird in the air. It's about making sure that, well, first of all, do we need one right now?
Imani, as with all civil society groups, believe the process to purchase a new jet must be steeped in transparency.
Minority and majority must accept that this time around, it's not just them who go and look at some military assets or some equipment that they are buying. We need to involve experts who are in the private sector, who understand these things, and even civil society actors who have dealt a lot on procurement to be part of the process, so that at least we can check it and say, okay, this was fairly and transparently done. Otherwise, the suspicions will keep growing. I would definitely suspect that the purchase of an aircraft of such nature would definitely not be done properly.
But even with the insistence a new jet may not entirely be necessary, Engineer Wusu believes preparations ought to be underway for a future purchase.
With some documents that I've read globally, if your aircraft is going beyond 30 years, 20, 35 years, getting to 40,
It will be 13 next year.
Yes, so maybe we should be planning that maybe within the next 5-6 years.
The conversation is already up in the air. And although a direct intent has not been revealed by the government, Professor Kwesianin believes that announcement would have the buy-in of all political parties.
From where I sit, politics is about principles and values. And I think Honorable Intim Fojo is mature, is deep, and I think we need to begin to reflect that in retooling the army, because normally the presidential jet comes under the ambit of the Air Force. So in retooling the Ghana Armed Forces, the conversation must be bipartisan.
The ball now falls squarely at the feet of government, with the question now more of when the announcement will be made for questions about cost and durability to take over.
The debate continues, and until the final choose, we welcome your views, your comments, and even your reservations. Like I mentioned earlier on, we are active on Facebook as TV3 Ghana. Engage us now. And our government has been urged to take steps to bridge the widening digital divide among basic school pupils in the country, particularly in schools in rural areas. The call comes amid concerns from ICT teachers in the Volta region regarding the lack of teaching and learning materials for the teaching of ICT in the schools, which is actually creating a huge disparity between learners in rural Ghana and their counterparts in schools in the urban parts of the country.
The introduction of ICT as a subject into the curriculum for basic schools has from the very beginning been fraught with the challenge of lack of teaching and learning materials, particularly in schools in rural Ghana. Despite efforts by successive governments to address this issue, many schools are still without a single computer, hindering effective teaching of the subject, creating a huge disparity in digital education among school children in rural schools as compared to their counterparts in the urban settlements.
The new curriculum, the Common Core program that was introduced, it's a very good curriculum. However, we have a challenge of lack of logistics with regards to how we can tell our lessons. And so we believe that if government provides this logistics, it will make the teaching and learning of our subjects, particularly with regards to computing, very easy for us.
The digital divide is widening with the faster pace of technological improvement. You go to rural schools where there's not even a functioning computer for the teacher, talk of the students or the learners that are being taught. And this creates a lot of issues for the teachers in handling topics, and in fact, most of them shy away from those topics. You come to the urban areas, most of the interventions, the NGO, the support are always there. So it gives them the boost ahead of the learners from the rural areas. And performance of these students come to play, and we need government support to address that. Also, the training of teachers is very important. The new curriculum emphasizes practical base.
At a recent training of ICT and science teachers from selected schools in the region, Chief Executive Officer of Experimental Ghana, Ivy Boatima Danso, said providing the schools with the right learning materials would not only bridge the digital divide, but could equip the pupils with the needed skills to solve basic community problems.
So there are so many challenges surrounding us as human beings, but it's based on our ability to be able to apply the sciences and then the IT concepts we learn in our schools to be able to solving some of these challenges. We have given them what they need as far as Adreno is concerned, and we are looking forward to seeing them applying some of these things in the classroom, and we hope that once the applications go well, once the implementation goes well in the classrooms, we hope to see some of the learners come up with some projects that can be the foundation for some jobs for them in the future.
In its quest to help in the fight against galamsey, the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, is taking aim at the very tools that power the illegal trade, that's excavators. The initiative requires the registration and tracking of these machines right at the port before they can even reach a mining site.
The fight against illegal mining has often focused on the miners themselves. But now, authorities are targeting the equipment that makes large-scale environmental destruction possible. The government's latest intervention mandates the DVLA to register every excavator entering the country. The goal is to create a digital fingerprint for each machine, making it traceable from the port to its final destination and ensuring it doesn't end up destroying Ghana's forests and water bodies. This new strategy was a key focus at the DVLA's 2025 Media Review Conference.
DVLA registers the excavator, and not just excavators, all mining equipment and other farm equipment. DVLA registers Minerals Commission tax and geofence the excavator. This is a drive from DVLA in our quota to help the fight against galamsey and to protect our environment from such activities.
The conference wasn't just about mining. Broader plans for road safety were also unveiled, including a push for Ghana to align with key UN conventions on traffic and vehicle regulations.
These instruments provide a common framework for countries to accelerate the implementation of national, regional, and continental road safety programs. The ministry is therefore taking steps for Ghana to accede to these UN conventions. We must move away from our traditional ways of doing things and ensure the harmonization and standardization of our systems and procedures in line with regional and global development trends.
And to ensure every driver is qualified, the board chairman promised a tech-driven approach.
We will leverage smart solutions to modernize every aspect of our work. The drive to ensure that every driver that is seated behind the steering wheel has the requisite qualification and certification to drive, and every vehicle that applies our rules is roadworthy and has the requisite authorization by the authority to be on the road.
The media review serves as a strategic pivot point, allowing the DVLA and its partners to refine their approach and drive towards a safer, more regulated future for both our roads and our natural resources.
Well, if you just tuned in, you're watching Weekend Central here on TV3 with me, George Quinnin. In more news this afternoon, the government has announced plans to sponsor tutors from nursing and midwifery colleges to pursue their doctorate degrees. Addressing students and tutors at the Sefiri also Nursing and Midwifery Training College, the Health Minister, Kwabena Mintah-Kando, said every year 15 tutors will benefit from the government sponsorship. Here is a report by Matthew Ahiave.
And there's a very good package for tutors under this government. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama promised in the 2024 manifesto of the NDC that we're going to help upgrade the nurse tutors. And so this year, we are starting with upgrading 15 tutors to pursue PhD. We are just starting with 15 in 2025 to pursue PhD. What it means is that 15 multiplied by 4 will give you about 60, right? Yeah. So even if we go at this pace, what it means is that by the end of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama's tenure, we will have not less than 60 PhD tutors in our nursing training institutions.
And now in some entertainment news, the one-week observation ceremony for legendary Ghanaian musician Daddy Lumba is currently underway at the Black Star Square, that's Independence Square in Accra. The event, which started at 7 a.m., has drawn thousands of fans, family members, industry colleagues, and public figures to pay their respect to the late music icon. Daddy Lumba, known for hits like Abenwaha and Teresa, passed away on July 26, 2025, at the age of 60, leaving behind a legacy that has sparked an outpouring of tributes from across the nation and beyond. The funeral arrangements are yet to be announced, but the family will decide on the final rite in accordance with traditional rites.
Asylum seekers in Ghana face.
Well, Lumba's songs always find me happy and a bit of, some sort of excitement, but it's quite unfortunate he's no more. May his soul rest in perfect peace. On that note, we end today's edition of Weekend Central. I came to you live from the news app here at Accra. For more news updates, you'd want to log on to our website, s3news.com. Alternatively, you can join my colleague at 7 on News 360, Cosby and Aisha. Thanks for watching. It's always a pleasure coming your way. Good afternoon.